Hey everyone, welcome back to Buried Truth Project. Today we're diving into one of the biggest corporate scandals in tech history, the Cambridge Analytica scandal that exposed how Facebook allowed a political consulting firm to harvest personal data from 87 million users without their knowledge or consent. This isn't just about privacy violations. This is about how your personal data was weaponized to influence elections, how Facebook knew about it and did nothing, and how Mark Zuckerberg had to testify before Congress while the world watched. The full story is far more disturbing than you ever imagined. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our deep dives into tech scandals and corporate corruption. Alright, let's jump in. Let's start with how Facebook actually makes money, because understanding their business model is essential to understanding why this scandal happened. Facebook is free to use. You don't pay a subscription fee to scroll through your feed, post photos, or message friends. So how does Facebook make over $100 billion per year in revenue? The answer is simple. They sell access to you. Facebook's real product isn't the social network. It's the data they collect about you. Every like, every click, every page you visit, every post you read, every video you watch, every second you spend on the platform is tracked, analyzed, and used to build an incredibly detailed psychological profile of who you are. This data is then used to sell advertising, but not just any advertising. Hyper-targeted advertising based on your interests, beliefs, fears, and vulnerabilities. Advertisers pay Facebook enormous amounts of money because Facebook can target ads with unprecedented precision. Want to reach conservative women over 50 who are worried about healthcare? Facebook can do that. Want to target young men interested in cryptocurrency and fitness? Facebook can do that too. But here's the problem. Facebook wasn't just using this data for advertising. They were also allowing third-party developers to access massive amounts of user data through their platform. And one of those developers was about to cause the biggest scandal in Facebook's history. In 2013, a researcher named Alexander Kogan created a personality quiz app called This Is Your Digital Life. It was one of those apps you've probably seen on Facebook. Find out what kind of personality you have, or discover your psychological profile. Hundreds of thousands of people willingly downloaded the app and agreed to let it access their Facebook data. But here's what most people didn't know. When you gave the app permission to access your data, it didn't just collect your information. It also collected data from all your Facebook friends, even if they hadn't downloaded the app or given any permission. This was allowed under Facebook's policies at the time. Through this loophole, Kogan's app collected data from approximately 87 million Facebook users, the vast majority of whom never consented or even knew their data had been harvested. The app collected everything: your likes, your posts, your location data, your private messages, your relationship status, your political views, your religious beliefs, your photos, everything. Now, Facebook's policies stated that developers could collect this data only for research purposes. They weren't supposed to sell it or use it for commercial purposes. But Kogan violated those policies. He sold the data to a political consulting firm called Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica was a company that specialized in using data and psychological profiling to influence elections. They'd worked on political campaigns around the world, claiming they could use data science to identify persuadable voters and target them with perfectly crafted messages to change their minds. Here's where it gets really disturbing. Cambridge Analytica took the Facebook data from 87 million users and used it to build psychological profiles. They could identify people's personalities, fears, prejudices, and vulnerabilities. Then they could target those people with political ads specifically designed to manipulate them. For example, if their data showed you were anxious about immigration, you'd see ads playing up immigration fears. If you were concerned about the economy, you'd see ads about economic threats. The messages weren't about informing voters. They were about psychological manipulation using your own data against you. Cambridge Analytica worked on multiple political campaigns, but their most famous clients were the Brexit campaign in the UK in 2016 and Donald Trump's presidential campaign in 2016. They claimed their data-driven approach helped win both campaigns, though the actual impact is debated by experts. Here's the critical question. When did Facebook know about this? And what did they do? Facebook found out about the data breach in 2015. That's right, 2015, not 2018 when the scandal became public. A reporter contacted Facebook asking about Cambridge Analytica's use of Facebook data. Facebook investigated and confirmed that Kogan had violated their policies by selling the data. So what did Facebook do? They asked Cambridge Analytica to delete the data. That's it. They didn't notify the 87 million users whose data had been compromised. They didn't inform regulators. They didn't go public with the breach. They just quietly asked Cambridge Analytica to promise they'd deleted everything and moved on. Facebook later claimed they believed Cambridge Analytica when they said they'd deleted the data. But here's the problem: they never verified it. They never audited Cambridge Analytica's systems. They just took their word for it and considered the problem solved. For 3 years, from 2015 to 2018, Facebook knew that millions of users' data had been improperly harvested and potentially misused, and they said nothing. The 87 million affected users had no idea their personal information had been compromised. Then in March 2018, everything exploded. A whistleblower from Cambridge Analytica named Christopher Wiley went public. He gave interviews to the New York Times and The Guardian, exposing the entire operation. The story went viral instantly. People were outraged. Lawmakers demanded answers. Privacy advocates called it the worst data breach in social media history. The hashtag #DeleteFacebook trended worldwide as users deleted their accounts in protest. Facebook's stock price crashed, losing over $100 billion in market value in just days. Mark Zuckerberg, who had been silent for days after the story broke, finally issued an apology. But the damage was done. Here's what made people so angry. It wasn't just that the data breach happened. It was that Facebook had known about it for 3 years and said nothing. They'd prioritized protecting their reputation over protecting their users. They'd allowed a political consulting firm to exploit user data to manipulate elections, and they'd covered it up. The backlash was unprecedented. Governments around the world launched investigations. The US Congress demanded that Mark Zuckerberg testify. The UK Parliament summoned him as well. Regulators in Europe began preparing massive fines under the new GDPR privacy laws. On April 10th and 11th, 2018, Mark Zuckerberg testified before Congress in a hearing that was broadcast live around the world. For nearly 10 hours over 2 days, senators and representatives grilled Zuckerberg about Facebook's data practices, their knowledge of the Cambridge Analytica breach, and how they'd allowed it to happen. The hearings were extraordinary. Here was the CEO of one of the world's most powerful companies, sitting in a suit and tie, being questioned by lawmakers who clearly didn't understand how Facebook worked. Some of the questions were embarrassingly basic. One senator asked how Facebook made money if it was free to use, forcing Zuckerberg to awkwardly explain, "Senator, we run ads." But some questions were devastating. Lawmakers asked why Facebook hadn't notified users about the breach, why they trusted Cambridge Analytica to delete the data without verifying, whether Facebook had become a monopoly that needed to be regulated or broken up. Zuckerberg apologized repeatedly. He said, "It was my mistake, and I'm sorry," over and over. He promised to implement stronger privacy protections and prevent future breaches. But his answers often sounded rehearsed and evasive. He frequently responded with, "I'll have my team follow up with you on that," when asked for specific details. Public trust in Facebook plummeted. Surveys showed that over 60% of Americans believed Facebook had a negative impact on society. People were deleting their accounts in record numbers. Advertisers were pulling back. The hashtag #DeleteFacebook trended worldwide. But here's what's remarkable. Despite everything, Facebook survived. Yes, their stock price dropped temporarily, but within months, it had recovered. User numbers kept growing. Revenue kept increasing. The #DeleteFacebook movement faded. The Federal Trade Commission fined them $5 billion, the largest fine ever imposed on a tech company for privacy violations. But for a company making $70 billion per year in revenue, a $5 billion fine was basically a cost of doing business. Facebook didn't have to break up. Zuckerberg kept his job. The company's fundamental business model, collecting user data and selling targeted advertising, didn't change. Facebook did implement new privacy controls, giving users more transparency about data collection. They restricted third-party developers' access to user data, closing the loopholes Cambridge Analytica had exploited. But critics argue these changes were largely cosmetic. Meanwhile, Cambridge Analytica didn't survive. The company declared bankruptcy and shut down in May 2018. Alexander Nix, their CEO, was caught on hidden camera boasting about using bribes and psychological manipulation to influence elections. Those videos led to the company's collapse. Christopher Wylie, the whistleblower who exposed the scandal, became a hero to privacy advocates. He testified before multiple governments and wrote a book about his experiences inside Cambridge Analytica. The scandal revealed fundamental problems with how tech companies operate. First, it exposed the surveillance economy. Facebook's entire business is built on surveilling users and selling access to their attention. You're not the customer, you're the product being sold to advertisers. Second, it demonstrated how personal data can be weaponized. Cambridge Analytica showed that psychological profiling based on social media data can manipulate people's political beliefs and voting behavior. Your likes and clicks reveal more about you than you realize. Third, it revealed how little oversight exists in the tech industry. It took a whistleblower and journalist to expose the problem, not Facebook's own audits or government regulators. Here's the question that haunts privacy advocates. Was Cambridge Analytica unique, or were they just the ones who got caught? Investigations revealed that dozens of other companies had similar access to Facebook data. The scandal we know about might be just the tip of the iceberg. Since then, there's been growing momentum for privacy regulation. The European Union implemented GDPR. California passed the California Consumer Privacy Act. But tech companies have fought back, spending millions on lobbying to prevent strict regulations. The fundamental tension remains unresolved. We want free services and personalized experiences, but we don't want our data harvested and exploited. We want privacy, but we keep sharing everything on social media. So there you have it, the complete story of the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. From 87 million compromised accounts to congressional testimony, from weaponized personal data to a $5 billion fine that barely made a dent. This scandal exposed the dark side of social media and the surveillance economy that powers it. What's the most disturbing part of this scandal for you? Let me know in the comments. And here's a question. Have you changed how you use Facebook or social media since learning about Cambridge Analytica? If you enjoyed this deep dive into tech scandals, smash that like button and subscribe to Buried Truth Project for more untold stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth is always deeper than the surface. I'll see you in the next one.